Waddle in the bathroom.
That is a butt clencher. This is not a turtle head.
No, it's a butt clencher.
Oh, it's about to come through. All right, I see it now.
It's CommanderSmiths. Gotta get down with CommanderSmiths. Everybody looking forward to our podcast. Deck building. Yeah, deck building. Yeah, fun.
No idea. I was dancing to it. Yeah, but
will this ring a bell? It's Friday.
Me and my wife were just talking about this song. Rebecca Black, Friday.
There you go.
Yeah, no, shit. I got a good story with this. When I was substitute teaching, I was doing roll call, and I was like, hey, I know it's kind of crazy in here. It's Friday. And the entire class burst out into that song of It's Friday.
Did you know it at that time?
Yeah, okay. I knew what it was too. Nice. It was crazy at that time. So it's a viral video on YouTube if you don't know what it is. It was crazy.
So the funny
thing, older now. It's 10 years old.
Cindy and I fuck with each other with that because we write on the board when, have a good day at work or whatever. Yeah. And every now and then on Friday I'll go, it's Friday. And she's like, thanks. That fucking song's in my head now, you bastard. So she did it to me this last Friday. I was like, I'm doing that for my freaking song.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah. Welcome to CommanderSmiths.
Well, we are the CommanderSmiths.
I'm Adam Smith.
I am Lowry Smith.
Don't worry.
We're cousins.
Yeah, I like that. But we got to do it
that's good.
Simultaneously.
Do we want to do it at the same time, like we're a boy band?
Yeah. Ready?
Don't worry, we're cousins.
Yeah. And well, we can do the pointing when we actually have video going because right now
we can do it right now. Who cares? Get into it.
We did point.
Whatever. We're on episode 44 at this point.
Yeah. So big episode here, but first you can follow us on Twitter at CommanderSmiths.
You can email us at CommanderSmiths@gmail.com.
And then YouTube. We've been getting a lot more YouTube views on all our videos. Actually,
appreciated.
This last week, I know I talked about on the last
get that
podcast,
YouTube money.
Yeah, right. I talked about that we were going to have our video uploaded of our battle boxes. I got it uploaded by Thursday, so if you listened to us early in the week and it wasn't connected, now if you looked at that podcast, it'd show our link to that. But we'll do it on this one too, just so... because we're going to kind of mention...
Yeah, because it was the end of last week.
It actually turned out pretty nice. I thought
it was fun.
The style of it. I think we learned a little bit more, so I think in our next one we're going to kind of, we figured
do it a little bit better, a little bit closer, and yeah.
But yeah, the war style is a definite plus. And we've already started getting suggestions of other things to do. Mm-hmm. So what I was kind of thinking is once we get to that point... we could, if we get a few suggestions, we can maybe do like a poll or something like that and have people vote on which one gets added to our Wheel of Misfortunes.
So asking people for a little bit more.
So yeah, we got a few suggestions, or we've gotten one suggestion so far, not a few. But what we'll probably do is take the tally of other suggestions and maybe do like a poll or something.
Yeah, I don't want to actually say the suggestion because I don't want to do it. So I'd rather not be pressured into it other than by the person that sent it to us.
Here's an idea, and we're doing this on air production, but
I love these.
What do you think we take off ones? Like if we've taken that shot, do we just take it off the list, or do we just keep adding?
I don't think if we do that shot again. I think that's lame. New things from now on.
Okay, I agree. All right, so what do we got on this week for our episode? Got a kind of a cool episode this week. We kind of.
Whoa, don't oversell us.
No, I mean it kind of came up late. We had two topics, but then they weren't really going to take up a lot, and then we kind of came up with kind of a unique list of things here. So
okay, so yeah, we're gonna go with cards that we think are kind of underused from the EDH Rec website where we're looking at it and we're going, that should be in more decks.
Right. So we basically, I don't know how you did, we combined our lists and made one giant top 20 list.
Yeah, top 20 underused cards.
I looked through all my cards. I'm like, I don't see that enough in decks, and then kind of compared it to EDH Rec and saw how many decks there were that used it, and that's kind of how, and we can get into more detail, but that's pretty much how I went with it. And then
second one was second segment that we'll kind of go off of is Channel Fireball came out with an interesting article talking about collectibles insurance. So we plan on kind of talking about that. I did a quick online quote just to see prices and give you guys a little bit more insight on that part.
So yeah, more on that. We'll talk about the insurance part, but then also maybe how you keep your cards safe. So some tips that we would suggest doing if you're not already doing them or whatever. So that's kind of what that segment will be. And then we finish off with our Smith Specs of the Week, which is kind of going to be more towards
focus on box toppers.
Because the prices, if you haven't noticed, and we kind of mentioned it last week, prices are already starting to go up, which is very early, but box toppers are unique.
Yeah,
and they're just going up right now. I mean,
so and yeah, we'll get more into that at the end of the show here. So starting off, we are going to go with underused cards. I want to say underplayed, but
no, yeah,
it's underused.
Underused cards in Commander that, at least with our play group, and then also with this part. All the decks are at least under 5,000 in EDH rec,
and actually most of them that we listed are under like 3,000.
Yeah, and these are cards that we're going through the list, and we had 35 originally, and we were like
easily,
and it was hard for us.
You had 35 on your list. And you're like, how about we make this a smaller like parameters to go with? Because before it was like cards on 8,000 and under decks.
Yeah, and then
it went down to 5, and I was like, maybe we shouldn't have talked about it in our core cards for Commander, and like.
Do we have? We have some.
One or two of them, but like most of them are just like ridiculously low when it comes to like core cards.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this is more of 5,000 or less, and it's cards that we feel like I play with them a lot, and some of them the stuff off of your list. I was like, wow, I need to start playing with a lot more of these. Our number one card. Should we start it off? I would say this is probably
this one's egregiously wrong in my opinion.
But Spellskite.
Do you have the numbers on that? It was under 2,500.
Oh no, I don't have the numbers. I should pull it
so
up.
It was under 2,500 decks. No internet. But like I put this in every blue deck. This is great protection, and I know we've talked about this before. It goes in. It's 2 colorless for an 0/4 that can redirect any spell for a blue or 2 life. This card, every time I play it, people go, "Can you steal my equipment?" I'm like, "Yeah." Can you take my auras? Yeah. Can you you just have to go through all of the things, and you just can redirect everything to it whenever you want, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a complete protection spell,
and people just go, "Well, I'm going to kill it."
Yeah,
I can't.
They waste a kill spell just to get rid of it.
And it's an 0/4, literal nothing until you start stealing stuff, or just you can protect it. But yeah, it's a great card, and like I said, it was under 2,500 decks on EDH Rec, and that just blew my mind. We're gonna try and come up with reasons why we think it isn't.
It's actually 3,200.
3,200. I was wrong. Okay, well,
if it was not his fault
still,
there,
but
the internet was down for. I don't know why. I must have hit something.
I have no idea. You wrecked it. We're so screwed. Yeah. Is it recording right now?
Yeah. That doesn't need internet to record. So I just had to pull up my phone and look at it. But still, 3,200 EDH decks. It's if you
want to go with a comparison, like I looked up. We'll use this example later on, but Dictate of Erebos. That's a black enchantment that whenever you have a creature die, all your opponents sacrifice a creature. That's in 20,000 decks.
Mm-hmm.
So like in a comparison when we're going, yeah, that makes sense. But like this being in under 3,200 decks, you're just like, wow, that this is such a powerful card that it's hard for me to imagine that it's not used as much.
Well, even to that point, like when that deck was it last week or 2 weeks ago with our Commander Spotlight stuff?
With Niv Mizzet?
Yeah, I had to make note saying that I did not use... So it was 2 weeks ago. I did not use that card because if you're using blue, it should be in your blue deck.
Yeah, it's cheap. It's it's colorless. It's just so good. So I'd say enough with that.
Yeah.
Do we want to go back and forth between our lists?
We can just go... Let's just march down the list.
Okay. So this first part is all Adam's fault.
All right, so we want to go down to number 2 on our list.
In our non-numerical list.
Yeah, it's
number 2.
Number 2. Yeah, it's not number 2 overall. It's just, words.
This one's definitely yours, Stu, because you kind of taught me about it a little bit tonight. But Comeuppance?
Yeah, so it's 1 white and 3 colorless, and it's an instant. Basically what it does is any damage that's dealt to you by any source that you don't control, it either, if it's a creature, it gets dealt back to that creature, gets prevented and dealt back to that creature. If it's from a source, like let's say a fireball, it goes back to the player.
Because that's relevant.
Right. Right. Shut up.
But that damage is dealt back to the player, the opponent.
So what Larry was saying is that he was thinking it was just from one source, because a lot of cards are typically the ones that redirect a lot time.
Normally it's just like from one source, redirect X amount of damage or all of the damage back to that player or creature. And this is, if it's all of the creatures, all that damage is going back on those creatures.
And a lot of times they're 3 3s, 5, like even, same numbers, or sometimes they might have a bigger front, or if they have a bigger butt, then they're surviving, but still it's preventing. It's a fog in a way, but dealing damage back. And
exactly. It's a 4-mana fog, but it has a huge upside, and it can stop instants and sorceries. Like, that's kind of nice if somebody goes to Comet Storm you, which, I mean, I know isn't as good as Fireball, but...
Yeah. Nice. You just rub it in my face?
No.
Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
You're being a dick, and so we need to drink a beer.
Might as well start. All right, so today I brought Goose Island. This is Ombre Secreto. There's a Saison that's been aged in tequila barrels with mangoes.
Nice. Mangoes.
So it's very unique. It's very crafty, if you know what I mean.
Unique New York. Oh, it even looks mango-y.
It's a Saison. Those are much clearer. Even though I mostly bring dark beers.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I can taste the mango. It's like a citrusy kind
All I go for is a different reaction than, that's good.
Delicious.
I could taste mango. I give that an up. That's all right.
I like it. Should we just have like, you don't even need me, I'll record button bars for my reactions, and all you have to do is press.
That's good.
That's good. I like it.
And then like,
that's
good with a different like inflection on it. Comeuppance is only in about 3,500 decks, and that's just kind of like, once you explain to me like, oh, this is actually much more powerful than I anticipated. Like, this is probably better than like Seek the Wreckage, because you don't have that downside. It's not exiling, but
is it Seek the Wreckage?
Or Settle the Wreckage?
Settle the Wreckage. It was like Seek,
which exiles all attacking creatures. So I mean, like, it's questionable. I think it's really cool. You don't have that downside of them getting the lands,
right? And as I was gonna say, with Commander getting lands and everything like that. Hey, some of the other things it can compare to are those angels, that the Flash Angels comes into play. Destroy all attacking creatures.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know how many decks that's using, but this is an instant 4-drop. That's pretty dang good. I mean, I guess I would compare it more to
better than Holy Day.
Teferi's Protection is how I'm kind of thinking of this, and Teferi's Protection. I think Teferi's is better, but the downside to the player attacking you could be very major.
Yeah, instead of just being tapped out, you lose a lot of your creatures, or if they tapped out and like Bane fired you, and you're like, well, I'll redirect that back to you.
And this instance has happened in our play group where I guess Trombley the best, wasn't it that where he goes dropping plates?
Angel of Dire Hour.
Oh, that's right.
That's what
that was the best reaction.
That was really
dropping
good.
Plates, and then Tyson plays, and he's like, no, actually,
all of your creatures are removed from the game. So.
But yeah, so I think it's definitely we don't see it that often. In fact, I haven't used it in a deck. I need to.
And I thought it was much worse, so I'll have to start taking a little bit more of a look at it as well.
So next one on our list is one that we've used forever, and it's an amazing card, especially for Commander.
Defense of the Heart, which is a green enchantment for 4, and if an opponent has 4 or more creatures. Maybe it's 3 or more. 3 or more creatures. You get to sacrifice that enchantment and go and search for any 2 creatures in your library and put them directly into play.
Did we have this as a core card for Commander?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think it was our green core card, but it's only in 4,900 EDH Rex.
Which seems incredibly low when you compare it to something like Tooth and Nail, which costs 9 at sorcery speed.
Yeah, and this locks down a board to, like, if you play it early,
absolutely,
you're controlling the board by people not. They're like, I can't have over 3 creatures. So
and then people start attacking, like, hey, if I attack you with this, and this, can you block and kill it and trade it? Because nobody wants to, like, and I think I've told the story on here before. The one time I wanted to teach everybody how awful poison was, I got this, went and got Kiki Jiki and Blightsteel Colossus, copied Blightsteel, killed somebody, and then next turn they're like, well, I'm dead. So
I wasn't in that game because you didn't teach me a lesson. No. I don't remember it. You didn't teach a very good lesson.
Does not mean that you were not taught.
I think you're just making up stories now. I'm going to start doing that.
You and Trombley were just chit-chatting. And you're like, oh, I'm dead? All right.
See, we don't get as upset when we die from poison because it's another way to die.
Because it sucks. You knew it.
All right, so next on our list, we move down to, this is an older card too, not as old as Defense of the Heart, but Omnath, Locus of Mana. The nice thing about this card, it's a 1 green, 2 colorless. It can be your commander. Mm-hmm. If you're playing mono green, this thing's amazing because
you just dump all of your extra mana into it, and you're just saving it up for the next turn.
So what he does is any green mana that you tap, it doesn't empty out at the end of turn, and he gets a 1/1 counter to represent that.
Not counters. No, it just gets +1/+1.
But yeah.
And then you can remove +1/+1 from it to add green to your mana pool at any time.
I think we add counters to it to represent it.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. It's really hard to represent it. So that could be the issue of like people go, how do I represent this well? Go, oh, they're not counters. It could be just a little confusing. That mana just stays whenever you need it. Maybe people go like, oh, like I can make it big, but then somebody kills it and it's just dead, and it can be jump blocked all day. But it can really store up that mana, and I think that's how I would rather look at it, as like just holding on to the mana that you haven't used.
And if you're using something like Seedborn Muse, where your stuff's untapping and all that stuff, you can frickin' use up your mana before you say go. It untaps, so you get all that again. So you can. There's a lot of things you can do to abuse this guy.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say you go turn 4 Omnath, turn 5 Seedborn, and you're playing 3 players. We know you have 5 mana, so it could be 5, 10, 15. It could be a 16/16 by the time it gets back to you. And you could just use 15 of that mana plus your 5 or 6 that you have, like. That's 20 mana on turn 6. Ridiculous. That's crazy.
And I don't think I said it, but it's only in 2400 EDH EDH decks.
It just seems really low. It was a mythic from Worldwake. It's been around for a while, and so it's curious why it's not used more. Maybe it doesn't go well in multicolored decks.
Yeah, it's a little more tough because it is focusing only on green. But I think if you're playing 2 colors, if you get over to 3,
pretty usable.
3 starts to get a little more tricky. Definitely, I wouldn't have them in if you had a 3 or 4 color deck.
Absolutely, yeah.
Then it just gets a little tough. Let's move into our next card on the list. This one's even less decks than Omnath.
City of Solitude. This one is reserved list. It is in like 1,200 decks pretty much, and it's an enchantment for green 2 colorless, and players cannot play spells on other players' turns.
That's awesome as a green player. Fuck you, counter spells.
There's a similar card to it in Dosen the Falling Leaf, and that is in double the amount, which is 2,400 decks, which still seems criminally underplayed. And then if you want to compare that to, there's the white, that's 2 white, 2/2, and players can't play spells on your turn. Fairly similar.
Is that the Grand Abolisher?
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I like that guy too.
And so I that is a hugely played card in white. And then there's also there's an Elder Dragon from Khan's block that does a very similar thing to that as well. And I'll bet you that card is played a whole ton as well. So this one seems a little bit like, why isn't it played more?
But the Grand Abolisher was just 2 white. Did you say 2 white and 2
2
colors?
white, 2 white and a 2/2.
Okay.
And so maybe it's just too old that people don't even know that it exists.
Right.
This is from Visions, like we said, reserve list. I think it's been a really good card. Maybe it's gone up a bit since we have talked about it as well.
Because we've had that on our reserve list talk, and it might have made our green core cards too.
It might have.
I know it was in the discussion when we were going through all the green core cards.
Yeah, I don't know if it got cut or not, but it was. It's a really solid card. Just stops people from playing on anybody else's turn.
Right. And the thing is, as a green player, you typically aren't playing on other people's turns necessarily. I mean, there are occasions.
Beast Within all day.
Yeah, but you're most likely wanting to play your stuff on your turn and not have it countered or not killed and all that. And this card is allowing you to do that. And it's an enchantment, so it's a little bit tougher to remove. As a creature, the other one that you mentioned, the
Dosen,
that one's a creature, so it's a little. Creatures are just easier to remove. A lot of people play with more removal for creatures, so it makes it a little more difficult. Okay, next on our list, I love this card. It's Endless Horizons. This is in 1400 EDH Rec. It is EDH Rec. So
EDH Rec decks. Yeah. You might play with it, but it's not counted if you don't have it on Rec.
Yeah,
so,
right. But this is a 1 white, 3 colorless enchantment.
Correct.
And then what does it do again?
You get to, when it comes into play, you search for as many planes as you want from your deck and exile them essentially underneath Endless Horizons. And then during it's either upkeep or a draw step, you get to draw one of those lands, and you still get to draw a card.
Yeah, at the beginning of your upkeep, you get to draw that.
Yeah, so it's upkeep and then draw step for drawing a normal card. Now, like the downside where I can see people going, is if it's destroyed, all of those planes are gone. You're not getting them back.
But if you get this early game, you go get like 4 or 5 planes. And the thing is, it says planes. It doesn't say basic planes, basic land.
Yeah.
You can get your dual lands and put that
Tundra,
in there.
Mistvale Plains, Sacred Ground.
Anything that has the planes in the title. But then if you get it late game, it's even good. See, that's the thing is with cards, you kind of want to balance it out. Like, okay, if I draw this card early, this is amazing. But if I get it late, man, this sucks. Well, this card it filters out your freaking deck. You get rid of the land you don't need anymore.
You're not going to be drawing lands that you want anymore. You're
still
can
drawing
get them,
the
and
land.
if they destroy it,
you're like,
then
whatever.
I didn't want land anyways, really.
Yeah.
And so I think it works both ways, but you just got to play it a little smart. So I can see people not liking it for the fact of, I lose that land.
Then you just don't go, if it's early.
You don't go hog wild.
Yeah,
you don't remove
planes.
the 15 planes in your deck. You go and get 4 or 5.
Because really, that's the amount of turns you need to kind of get your ramp going, and you're drawing an extra card, and it's a pretty badass card, and we don't see it that often. I don't think I've seen it played.
I'm not sure I have one, which is a little. I had one for foil, and I traded it years ago. And so I know I have
a few because I did it when we used to play our not modern decks, but our 60 card. Yeah, I had a deck that was built with it. And I remember it did happen to me in that where I did go and get all the planes that I had, and then it got destroyed, and I was like, well, that sucks. In my mind, when it's under 1,500 decks, that's kind of crazy. I could see this being in like 4,000 or 5,000 decks. Like I think it's a solid card that's going to give, because it's card advantage as well. So and when it comes down, when it comes down, I don't see people going, we got to get rid of that now. Right.
They
might do it to be like, they just got all their let's screw them over. But that's why you just play it smart. You got to play it smart. You don't need to go get every single land there. So, all right, move on to the next one, Lau.
Fairy Artisans is in about right around 3,000 decks. This one was printed in a Commander set a couple years ago. It's blue, 3 colorless, blah, blah, blah flyer. The important part is whenever an opponent plays or has a non-token creature come into play, you get a token of that copy. And whenever another creature comes into play, your token goes away and you get a new token of that.
And it's not a you may, it's a you must. So you have to do it. So we actually had a discussion about this one, trying to decide if we had this on the cutting board or not. So there's a couple of things. As a player going against somebody that has it out, you're probably going to try to line things up where you're like, okay, well, I have a Birds of Paradise in my hand, and I have this dragon with Balefire Dragon or something.
And you have enough to play Balefire Dragon first.
So you play that, and you play your Birds of Paradise, and you give them a Birds.
Yeah.
But as the person having, or not even having the fairy, is somebody that wants to kill another player, you go, hey, Lowry, you have your fairy out. I'm going to play this card, but if
I'm
I play this,
Balefire Dragon,
you have to attack
them with it. Yeah.
This person with it. You go for Trombley or you go for Tyson, and you can politically use this card in your advantage as another player, or even as, I guess,
be like, hey, could you play something huge because we need to gang up on this guy.
So this could do a lot of swing to actually take out players.
And that's pretty cheap on your end too. You know, you have a 4-mana investment. It's a flyer, so you can still kind of get in for that. But you're also getting that. Like, just think if you had like Warstorm Surge in play as well. Like, just getting that extra, or some type of sacrifice outlet that allows you to get value out of it, like Greater Good. Like if they played, you know, the Dragon,
and then
they're about to play the Birds of Paradise, you sacrifice it, draw 6, discard 3.
Yeah.
You're getting way ahead on that part.
Yeah. So
there are some things that you could be playing with this.
Yeah. And you said the amount of decks it was in, 3,000?
Yeah, right around 3,000.
And then next one is No Mercy. Now, this one's right around that 5,000. It's in 4,900 EDH.
Yeah, and remember, 5,000 was our cutoff. So this
is on the border. This is a butt clencher. But it's a 2 black and 2 colorless, right? Am I right with that?
You have a different definition for butt clencher than I do.
Oh, turtle head coming out. Waddle
that is a butt clencher. This is not a turtle head.
No, it's a butt clencher.
Oh, it's about to come through. All right, I see it now. You convinced me. You're so good at this.
All right, so it's 2 black and 2 colorless enchantment, and anytime a creature deals damage to you, destroy that creature.
Now, is that combat damage? We should probably look that up. Is it any damage? Well, because like I was just thinking about, like, if you were playing Niv Mizzet Perun, you just you don't want to ping me to have it destroyed. That would suck. But if it's combat damage, then it's a bit different.
Whenever a creature successfally deals damage to you, destroy it.
So yeah, this could, if you hate Niv Mizzet, this could work.
Yeah.
A card like it, but again, that the wording could be a little different as Dread, and very similar card. But No Mercy is under 5,000 decks. It feels like this would stop people in their tracks from attacking you. Is this? I see this being better than Ghostly Prison or Propaganda. This would just that would just totally stop me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how to get rid of No Mercy before I can kill you, or I got to Alpha Strike you and kill you right off, lose everything.
Right. Yeah, so, it makes it's a deterrent. You want those, especially because you have your, like you just said, the Propaganda for your blue, your Ghostly Prison for your white. There's quite a few of those actually. We actually cut two other ones.
We're not going to tell you. Boom, boom. We might use them in a later episode.
Exactly. Revisit this one. Well, we could.
We cut a bunch. So
these were the best 20 we thought at this moment. But
the next time we do this, those will be the best 20. Right. But right now, these are the best 20.
All right, let's move on to the next card. This one is a must-have in any freaking artifact deck.
Yeah, it kind of boggled my mind. Master Transmuter. This is a creature. You can pay a blue, tap it, and put an artifact from your hand into play, but you have to return an artifact from play.
Technically, what you can do with this card is you can return that artifact to your hand, and then that's the artifact that comes into play.
Oh,
so
it's
actually not like
thing.
You have to have each target picked out beforehand. It's
return
happens
an artifact
first,
and put one
into play. So I used this before when I was abusing. Remember, I had the Scarecrow deck.
Mm-hmm.
So like when they come into play, that with -1/-1 counters. Yep. Reaper King,
that guy, yeah.
But he'd come back in with 3 more -1/-1 counters. I'd take those off and put them, kill some creature, return it to my hand, come back into play. So you can do some crazy stuff in it. And then you have Reaper King out where you're, it's destroying a permanent.
Whenever a Scarecrow comes into play, you're destroying a permanent.
So you're just bouncing it. And so this
also protects itself,
right,
too.
Yep.
Like if somebody targets it, you can return it to your hand and probably put it back into play. And it's a different target at that point. Or you could just return itself, and so you always have an artifact to return. Am I right on that? Or do we got to cut that part?
No, it's just I'm just rereading
because it could say another artifact.
No,
I might have missed that.
It says it's one blue, tap it, return target artifact you control to its owner's hand. Then it's the colons. You may put an artifact card from your hand into play.
So it's a may even.
Yeah. So you don't even have to bring it into play. So it could save anything that you're having. So you have an artifact that's getting targeted, that's getting killed. Well, bounce that back to your hand, play it again. It's not being targeted anymore. Mm-hmm. Like you just said, do it to Master Transmuter, return that to your hand.
And this should be really in every artifact deck that you have. Mm-hmm. And right now it's in 4,600 decks on EDH Rec. This card is crazy. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's probably the price that is keeping it lower because it's over. Yeah. It's over 10. It's probably around 20 in my mind.
It's close to 20. It's 18.
18, yeah. So that's probably the reason why. Mm-hmm. And it's an oldish set, Conflux, I believe it was. So you keep on checking.
Yeah.
Why don't you just tell it?
No, you're right. You got it all good.
Let's test Lowry today.
Well,
these are your cards that you found.
Here's the problem that we're having right now is that the internet went down on my computer, and we didn't realize it until we started recording. But the internet's fine on our phone, so we're actually having to look up everything on our phone. So I'm having to keep pulling it up. Normally,
so I'm letting him pull it up, and I'm pulling it up in my my analog brain index here.
But yeah, normally we have it up on the screen so we can both kind of look at it and talk about it if we need to. But that's what we're working with today. Fuckers.
On to the next one, which is criminally underplayed.
Yes.
Lifeline.
Yeah, this is insane.
It's an under 1,000, 786. I was saying,
and
that's what it told me, and I did not believe it.
This is a reserve list card as well. We've mentioned this card before.
5-mana artifact, and basically, if there are any creatures in play and you have a creature die, your creature's coming back.
It's actually all creatures.
All creatures?
Yeah. So it's other people's creatures too.
But that's still crazy.
I know. No, I mean, it's protection of your stuff unless there's a board wipe is the only way that your stuff doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Or exiled.
Well, that's true then, I guess. But just if you have an ETB trigger deck and somebody's like, well, I'm going to all out attack, I block, take a little bit of damage, and they come back more enter the battlefield.
This card is so beneficial in your Breya deck. That's the one.
I sacrifice Breya, comes back into play, I get more artifacts, I sacrifice the Sphinx that puts you to 10 life, and then it comes back.
It's pretty crazy. And when I used it before, I was using it when he's talking about it, enter the battlefield. All my stuff had entered the battlefield, and the idea of it was to kill them and have them keep coming back.
It gives you such great advantage, because you're going to build a deck with it, and similar, you want that type of advantage where you're putting better cards into play.
Right.
It seems really good to only be in under 1,000 decks.
Yeah.
Again, and this is reserve list. So, the question is it too old? The card's wording on it is super awkward.
It is
and
really
hard to read.
Because it took us a while to figure out how it actually completely worked.
They've changed the wording on it a couple times. I even just kind of messed it up, when I was explaining it there initially. It's just a really confusing card when you initially read it, because the templating is very different from even cards then, much less now.
Yeah, this was one that when we had the discussion, when we were talking about it as a reserve list card, this one, even if somehow, remember we talked about that if I destroyed your creature, if somehow killed a couple of your creatures, and your creatures went to the graveyard, and
then later all
of them get killed, your 3 still come back, because it says when those creatures go to the graveyard, if there's a creature in play when they went to the graveyard, they come back at the end of combat or at the end of the turn.
Let's just think about this then. Let's say somebody wraths, and then you're able to sacrifice all your creatures to Goblin Bombardment. Late trigger, they would come back. Everybody else's would be wrathed away.
Yeah, there's some pretty sick things you can do with this.
This card is nuts. Yeah, it's so fun to play with.
So it's definitely a must pick up. We've said it before to pick that up for reserve list stuff, and
it's gone up a lot more since we talked about it. Even we talked about it early, on our,
and then we re-talked about it again.
We-talked about it, and it's gone up since then as well. So I think people are slowly figuring it out, but it's still on under 1,000 decks. That's crazy.
All right, next on the list is Duskwatch Recruiter, and this is in 3,200 EDH rec decks. This one's it's a really freaking good card. Early, late, whatever. 1 green, 1 colorless comes into play, 2/2. You can tap a green and 2 colorless, look at the top 3 cards of your library. If there's a creature among them, you reveal it, and then you can put that into your hand, put the others on the bottom of your library in any order. If a player casts 2 or more spells, you flip it. On its flip side, all your creature spells cost 1 less, and it's a 3/3 at that point.
So it's almost like a amulet? What are those sapphire...
Oh, or they makes the color of your cost
so it's
down.
like a creature amulet a little bit.
But the thing is you're going to get it. It's going to flip back and forth during an EDH game. But when it's flipped over, you have that ability to just start going through your deck and getting creatures. It's just...
Yeah, late game, you're just flying through it.
And it's not tapping it to do it. So you can do it multiple times. It's 1 green, 2 colors, 1 green, 2 colors, and do it 3 or 4 times. So it's a pretty sick deck. It's a pretty sick card. I've had it it's in the one modern deck that I actually it's one of my more powerful modern decks, but it's using that ability to
kind of combos out.
Yeah, combo with infinite mana, going through my deck and finding the exact card.
Emrakul,
and then it's
dropping it.
So, and then now we start to move into cards that you had on your list. So we're kind of moving into that, right?
Yeah, yep. And then this one's going to be semi-similar. It's actually pretty similar, but so Search for Azcanta. That's in 2,500, almost 2,600 decks. But that's it's expensive right now. It's $20 in standard. Blue colorless enchantment. At your upkeep, you can put the top card of your library into your graveyard. If there are 7 or more, you flip it. It's a flip card, and then you can pay a blue 2 colorless, tap it, look at the top 4, and put any non-creature, non-land spell into your hand that way.
So it's the opposite, looking for the same stuff. Same thing as Duskwatch, but the opposite stuff.
And so, again, in both regards, they're both pretty good early game, and then they're also really good late game. And so that's kind of where they're pretty similar. And I can see this card being played more. It'll, in my opinion, drop once it rotates out of standard, which is next fall, a long time from now. So... But it is being used in
modern decks as well.
Sure.
Is there legacy decks too that you're probably using it?
I don't know about that one.
But yeah, it's a pretty damn good card. Anything that you get to go look at the top of your library and get extra cards for it is pretty good. And also, when it's flipped over, it gives you a mana too on top of it.
Sure. It can ramp you in a non-ramp deck. It's a non-ramp color of blue, and just the card advantage can be really good. So.
All right, and then you're going to have to remind me what this one does. The Clan Defiance?
Clan Defiance is red, green, and an X. It's a sorcery.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. This one's pretty sweet.
And it deals X damage to a non-flying creature, also a flying creature, and also a player.
So you can choose all 3 if there's not all 3 options on the board. There's at least one with the player.
It's and one or all or none. You could just do the 2, 1, 2, 3, any choice you want, and it's essentially two
creature
3 for 1. Yeah, 2 creatures
damage.
And a damage. You're going to make sure that you're getting the best ability out of all of that. It's in. What was it? It's 2,300x, almost 2,400x. And this is a great card in my opinion.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. Then you got the next one too?
I guess.
This is your baby.
This is mine. All right, so Earthcraft, we have talked about this reserve list one a little bit.
Similar to Cryptolith Right.
And here's the comparison. So Earthcraft, you can tap a creature to untap a basic land.
So you can do that as soon as they come into play.
Yep, and this is in 3,100 decks. Cryptolith Right is in 11,000 decks.
Yeah, so much more.
That's a huge difference. And then your creatures get the ability to tap for any color mana.
Give you color, yeah.
Now, they both have their pluses and minuses a little bit, but that's a huge gap. That's 8,000 deck difference, which is huge for something so similar. And guaranteed it's because it's an old, really expensive card.
Expensive, yeah. It's near 60?
60-ish. Yeah. So that's why it's not played as much. So if you got it, I would highly suggest it.
A good backup is your Cryptolith Right, but we're talking about the underrated or underused cards, not underrated.
Yeah, exactly. And Cryptolith Right is a $4 card, $4 or $5 card.
If you're playing a deck that you're trying to use Cryptolith Right as, you're having a lot of little creatures out, tokens, whatever, then you probably want this. If you have it already, own it, I would have this on as well. In a 100-card deck, then your variance of getting one of the 2
is a lot better.
Yeah, and so I would definitely have both of them in there. If you're putting one in, I'd put both in. For sure. Next one is one that I love this card, and I completely am mad that I didn't see it. I would put it on my list. Mirri's Guile. This is the 1-drop green enchantment, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top 3 cards of your library, and then you rearrange them, put them in any order, and then you draw a card. So it's basically doing what a Sensei's Top does, but you don't have to tap
or
mana.
A Sylvan Library. Right. It's
only
just
downfall is you can't shuffle your top, but you got other things that do that.
You're not drawing any of the cards out of it. But as a card that's only in less than 3,000 decks,
it's crazy.
It's cheaper than both Sensei's Top and Sylvan Library. I think it's just not a card it's not really used in Legacy.
Because, when we've talked about green, the core cards with green, and when we've discussed that, I was telling you, I was always putting this in my deck over
Sylvan Library.
Because, one, I didn't own Sylvan Library until
later on.
early, recently over the last year or two. And so this is in every single green deck. It wasn't until recently that I've started to okay, Sylvan's probably better to have along with my senseis. But a lot of times, if I have one of those in there, this is for sure going in there.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising to me. And with it being such an old card, that has to be the reason why it's not in more decks.
1-drop enchantment. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's a you may. So we've had that where people just forget. I've done that where you forget to.
If you don't do it, you don't get to do it.
Right. And people aren't going to remind you because they don't want to give you fucking advantage. All right, next one on the list. I like this one. They picked this one up.
Viashino Heretic.
And I'm glad you were reading that first word.
So this one, it's a smaller creature, red 2 colorless for like a 1/2, but it taps for a red and a colorless, and then you destroy an artifact, and then you deal damage to the owner as for the converted mana cost of that artifact. So it burns a little bit. It controls the artifacts on the board, and this card is only in 2,300 decks pretty much. And it's able to consistently destroy artifacts.
Yeah, I mean, get rid of other people's soul rings senseis are a little tougher because they're just going to put that on top. But everything else, we
should learn. You can't say I'm going to Crows and Grip is like the only thing that destroys Sensei's top.
Yeah.
But even able to, getting rid of the small artifact mana ramp hurts them. That's like saying tap red colorless, destroy target land.
Yeah.
Like that's
not
also
only does it
good.
hurt them, it hurts them because it does
damage. Yeah. And then if somebody's playing Lotus Veil, the 5-mana artifact that taps for 3 that we kind of talked about earlier, or bigger artifact creatures, that can be really brutal.
Some big damage.
If somebody's playing Memnarch, kill it.
Yeah, right. But the big thing is you're getting rid of other people's artifacts, and it's dealing damage at the same time. It's pretty badass.
And it's a low mana investment for being able to deal damage and get rid of artifacts. Yeah. So it's a pretty cool card.
All right, the next one has been on probably the most of all our lists. It's been on our game winners, our core cards for Commander Red. It is Disrupt Decorum, and that is the one where it's 2 red.
How is it only in 2,100 decks?
2,100 decks. It's 2 red, 2 colorless. And you goad all other players. And what goading, it sounds really dirty when you think about it. Sounds like it has something to deal with your... It's not the gooch. But you goad...
I don't have any real experience with the gooch, so you're going to have to talk about that one.
So you goad all other players.
They can't attack you if they can attack another player.
They have to attack another player.
The next player attacks an opponent. The other player, they just can't attack you. It leaves everybody open. Tons of creature dies. A bunch of life loss happens. This card's really powerful.
Yeah,
for 2,100 decks.
And I know the set came out last year. It's from 2017, but still for 2,100 decks for this.
There's a reason why it jumped up to $10 because it is a game ender. Like it just opens up everybody. You're going to have 2 people die within the next 2 turns after this is played.
Right.
In my opinion. And you're not one of them.
Right.
So
you're getting to choose. Well, they could potentially kill each other, but you are getting through with your damage too, depending on how your board looks. Yep. So because everybody's open. Unless they play a creature that has non-summoning sickness, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there are other ways around it.
Yeah, it's stuff that happens, but it's a fucking good card. All right, next card. This one's awesome, too. All these are awesome. I don't need to say that every time.
No, there's been a couple that are shitty.
Yeah, I don't know why we put this on this list.
Wound Reflection. Black enchantment for 6. And at the end of every opponent's turn, they lose life to the amount of life that they lost this turn. And so it could be a huge swing. I've had this card kill me accidentally where I'm like, I could take all this. And then they're like, you got to take another 8 damage. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
I could have blocked and I just totally missed it. That it was a delayed trigger and it being on the board. Like this card's really powerful. And there is a demon that came out in Battle Bond that's similar to that. And that card is really good as well.
I thought you were about to bring up your committing suicide thing again.
No. I mean, it's a funny story.
Yeah.
Not real stuff. It's, magic.
Yeah, Lowry killed himself and he's somehow here. I have the ghost of Lowry talking. Ooh. That's scary, Lowry. Don't do that. But yeah, it's pretty... It's one-sided, too. It doesn't affect you. So as the caster...
Yeah, it doesn't affect you.
It's everybody else. And that's what we like. there are things out there where you play it and it does crap to everybody, but it also includes you or damage or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, what was one that was close on the list? It was an example of this kind of the red enchantment that you had.
Oh, Wrath.
No, it wasn't Furnace Wrath.
Furnace of Wrath, that doubles damage to all permanents
so
and
that
players.
does it to you as well, which kind of can backfire because you're like, hey, guys, kill that person. They all just kill you and you're dead.
Let's kill you.
Yeah, so
you're kind of dangerous with this doubling thing. But yeah, it's quite a good card for only being in like 3,200 decks, pretty much.
Yep. Next one is Martyr's Bond. Is that right? Did I say Martyr's right?
Martyr's Bond.
Martyr's Bond. And that is in 2,600 decks, and we are looking at a 2 white, 4 colorless, so it's a 6-drop enchantment. But anytime that any one of your permanents, so it's creature, enchantment, land,
artifact, not land.
So
not
artifact,
land,
I'm trying to go off memory, even though I have it pulled
It
up
might
on my
not be
phone.
Planeswalker either, but essentially, this card is in.
It says, or any non-land permanent you control, put into the graveyard or from the battlefield. Each opponent sacrifices a permanent that shares it. So it would be Planeswalker as well.
Okay, yeah. Just non-land, but Martyr's Bond is in 2,600 decks, and I used the example earlier of Dictate of Erebos, where it's just creature, everybody else sacrifices a creature, and that is in 20,000 EDH rec decks. This is in 2,600. Like that's an almost a 17,000 deck difference.
Right, and you can go
when this affects everything for
and then
one
you can
more
do that
mana.
with Grave Pact as well. Grave Pact is
I don't know how many that was in. I didn't.
But
check,
I mean, that's
but,
in a ton. I mean, we can look that up right
Yeah,
now. But
that's
that's
also
in
in a ton.
Crap ton of decks, and you got what is it? Butcher of Malakar.
Yeah, for
does
creatures.
the same
Yep.
thing. And so and that's just creatures. This affects everything except for land, and it's. You could be...
So if somebody comes and destroys that, they all still have to destroy an enchantment of theirs.
And most likely what you're doing with this is it you can sacrifice your stuff and it dies, and they're having to do it too. So you're just planning it out where you're like, all right, well, I'm going to... This artifact I sacrifice to draw a card. Oh, you guys all sacrifice.
Yeah.
There's
and that's
so
why
many
I have it
things.
in my Krav deck where I just... I play...
You're planning on killing
I play
your
Krav, or I have Martyr's Bond in play. Then I play Krav... Tap a black, sacrifice all my creatures. Everybody's goes away pretty much.
Yeah.
You can have the
Wipe
enchantments.
the board.
It's a great card.
Yeah.
It was only printed in Commander at this point. So I'm assuming that's probably the reason why it's not used a whole ton.
And it's nearly a $9 card too.
So it's getting up there a little bit as well. But the other, Dictate of Erebos is $5-6 now as well. So I think this is more just rare. You don't really see it a whole ton, and so it doesn't really build on itself.
Original Commander set too. So yeah, that could be
that was a while ago.
Yeah, that's when we started playing Commander.
Whoa,
what? We played Okay, that was stupid. All right, last one on the list. So number 20, we didn't count except for 1, 2, and 20.
1, 2, and 20. Trust us, there's at least 17 in the middle there.
Nice quick math in your head there.
You saw me count it though, didn't you? There was that slight tick.
You're like, oh shit.
I could have been doing all those other cards in the middle.
Yeah.
Could do that too.
It works. All right, why don't you finish us off with that one, Larry?
So this is one I really enjoy as well.
Yeah,
Reconnaissance.
This one's pretty sweet.
It is an enchantment for 1 white, and you can remove any creature you have attacking from combat.
By tapping 0.
For tapping 0. So you can all-out attack to see if somebody wants to do something, like if they want to block or just take it, and then you just... If they block, you just untap it. Like, I didn't want to do that anyway.
Right. So your guys are protected.
You're kind of getting through if you can get through.
Right.
And if somebody plays a combat trick before combat damage is dealt, you just remove everything back.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite nifty, to say the least.
Yep. It's a card off of your list. I think one of the 2 cards I don't have that I need to get because this is pretty sweet for...
Yeah. And so this is sitting in 2,400 decks. And again, it gives you a lot of flexibility. Mm-hmm. And so I would highly suggest going and at least getting one of them and playing with it.
All right, let's move into our next segment. That rounds off our top 20
underused cards.
Underused cards.
Well, they're
unused. Never used. Let's get into the insurance stuff. So, Lowry, you kind of took the head on this one. That sounds really bad.
I took no head, sir.
You actually did some research with this and actually called or not called, but ran.
Should we talk about the article first, or?
Yeah, we can kind of mention it. Go ahead.
So again, the Channel Fireball had a. Well, you're the one that found it.
Yeah, I found it
and
and sent it to you.
But essentially, they were kind of going through, like, they told the story of how they got their Jund decks stolen, and that basically filled out their housing insurance, which is, if you have housing insurance, it's going to cover basically $2,500 in your collectibles. That's a best case scenario at this point, unless you do something more specific.
Well, I was going to say, no, when I checked into it a few years ago, when we started doing this spec stuff, it was more than a few years ago, but when I actually looked into it with my insurance, because I was curious, because I calculated when we started making the proxies is when I did that. Then I was like, oh man, I have whatever, my collection is worth this much, I should see if I can get this insured. What you're saying there, I think they would only cover $2,500 if it was.
And I have no idea about myself at this point. I've never looked at it into it. But yeah, it was, going with that, like, what are the times of when you would want to use insurance?
Well, I guess you get to the point of
cover the decks with. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, at what price would you start doing that? Because what did you figure out? Just say that part, I guess, because that's
okay.
where we
yeah.
should
So
figure out.
I got an online quote from Collectibles Insurance Services, and there's a couple of variables that they kind of consider. I'm not going to go through that at this point, but I put in $15,000 value, and they said it would cost $99.95 to insure it for the year. And then I upped it to $30,000, and they said $192 for the year. And then they wanted, I wanted to get more quotes for more variants. And they're like,
give us your email.
Well, I've already given my email, and they're like, you already have given this email. I was like, I don't want to go to my MSN number or email. I don't remember that anymore.
So we could roughly say about $95 per
year. So if it was like $7,500 collection, it'd probably be roughly 50. Around 50. And so those are the numbers that you can kind of talk about, and maybe I know when there's competing insurances, it kind of becomes a pain in the ass.
Right.
But it could be, if you're getting $7,500 out on it, it might be $10,000, including your housing insurance. You might want to, if you have renter's insurance, I highly suggest that for any renter that I have. Yeah. But if you are renting, just get renter's insurance in general. Even though nothing ever bad has happened to you,
get it.
It's cheap. As far as I understand, it's like $15 a year for it.
Oh, man.
Might be a month, but it's still really relatively cheap for the stuff to get you. That'll keep you there.
So I guess here's where I'm at with things on it. When I found out how much they would insure me for the $2,500, blah blah blah, that's when I decided to get a safe. That's when I was like,
so you took a precaution.
Yeah, I was like, all right, $2,500, they're not really covering that much. I didn't go into depth with what you did and actually found something else. I was just talking to my current provider. And I just took the cards like we've been talking about that are worth something in a binder, and they are in that safe. Now, that binder does not go away from my house pretty much ever. I think since I've done this,
I don't think so.
It hasn't left my house because this proxy, that was the point of doing the proxies.
And proxying helps keep your cards safe from being stolen,
thefted,
squinty eye thefted.
And the thing is if I do go somewhere and I'm bringing a EDH deck, which that doesn't happen very often, where I go to a competition, we don't do that.
Yeah, we do the pre-releases, but we're not bringing our cards.
Right, we don't bring those with. I'm just trying to think when we've done modern. I guess when we've done a modern tournament thing, not modern tournament, but modern at your LGS, we've done that a couple times. Then I bring the real cards, but it's only that deck, and I don't bring my whole collection. So I guess, and it's different for other people too, because I know people do bring their collection to trade with other people.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't do because I just trade online.
Exactly.
It's like, I remember I did bring it my trade binder one time to my LGS years ago. I was with my friend Matt, and I just stared at them thumbing through my cards, and I'm like, you better not fucking steal from me. Don't steal. I was just eyeing them up and just didn't take my eyes off my cards.
Right.
And, and then once he was like, oh, yeah. And then I kind of took my box back, let him have the cards that he wanted. And then I started going through his cards because I did not want to keep my eyes off of him. Because I don't trust him. I don't trust the other people. I don't trust him with my cards. So I'm not super comfortable. Obviously, I'm paranoid, and that's fine. Because you hear so many stories about people getting their cards stolen or their bags stolen at tournaments or at the card store or... and that's why even with our pre-release cards, like if we got to go to the bathroom, it's like setting the cards in front of one of our friends. We always go with a group, at least, me, you, and at least one more person, if not a couple more. You set it in front of somebody and you're like watching this. You watch
going
this.
to the bathroom and
you look them in the eye and you're like, you're watching
your
this.
life depends on this. Protect it.
And then you go pee quickly. Because I still don't trust you. No,
but even that's not as much value that's sitting there.
Sure.
And the thing is,
you still should always be vigilant and care for the stuff that you've paid for.
Right, exactly. And to be honest with you, I haven't seen your binder outside your house before. Since we've started doing this, you haven't brought your binder anywhere.
No.
Yeah. So
I learned my lesson with the pickles.
Yeah.
I don't even let my cards around my wife anymore.
Refer to the first 10 episodes, I believe. It was around my birthday, so it'd be in May, and there's pickles and Larry's cards smell.
Yeah.
So
I love you, my wife. Not you, in general.
So then recently, like I've said, over the last couple months, I've upgraded my safe and is actually now a fireproof and waterproof safe up to a certain amount of time and all that fun jazz.
So it's like a Timex watch.
Yeah, exactly. But the fire... I get me. As long as you're laughing, Larry. But so I guess I'm not going for the insurance increase. If your collection was worth, if you're hitting up 50 to 100,000, even if you're getting up to 50, I think at that point you kind of got to look into it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't actually sat down and even looked at the value of what my cards are. Like, I think you should be taking pictures of at least your bigger, higher price cards and having them. There are some like photo data spots you can, like Imgur. IMGUR.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that, and people use that for trading a bit, just to show off their shit. But it's kind of a cool, it proves that you have it, and then because you want those for the insurance companies as well, I believe.
And that was kind of what they said in the article, was that he got his stuff, one of his things covered by insurance because on camera
he played a game on camera
with
and then he had
the cards that he was playing with, and so he was actually able to get that covered.
But otherwise it would have been a pain in the ass. So you need proof that you have these cards. You want insurance potentially on it. Some things that we talked about beforehand was just like, if you have a basement or something that could get flooded, get it off the ground or get it out of a damp area.
Right. And that's where my cards used to be, was down in the basement, but I had shelving that I made sure that the expensive cards were on the top shelf. So that if it flooded, it'd have to flood over 5 feet, in my basement for it to hit that. But now my cards aren't in the basement, mainly because of that reason. And I also needed more easy access. I was getting sick and tired of like
hauling them up,
coming downstairs and like, oh, somebody wants this card, looking through that. So it's actually in my office next to all my other stuff. My office consists of
your office is 75% magic cards and then 25% work.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what mine's like.
All my drawers used to be like files, but
like 90,
real estate has changed a little bit where I don't need to have I don't need to keep my files of my clients in a folder anymore because it's all digital. So, but all those file cabinets used to be full of clients and all that stuff. Now it's all magic cards. Everything. You're right. It's 75% at least.
I've looked at your area. I know what's going on there.
It's a magical area.
That's the whole thing. Like, you need to somehow justify to your wife, like, I need this new desk for work.
Madge work.
I need to work on my magic cards. So another, like, the biggest worry that I have is like a fire on my house. And I've been alive for 34 years at this point, and I haven't had any of my houses burned down, thank God.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so like, theft is a real thing. I have a big dog, so I think that would help. He's at least scary. He sits out in front of the window. So
well, in your home most of the time, it's more of when you're on vacation.
yeah, I don't do a lot. I'll admit that.
I didn't mean to do that. Made it sound like a dick. Ah, you don't do anything, you hermit. Like,
my car sucks. I don't want to drive too much.
No, but yeah, I get what you're saying there. I mean, the fire. That's kind of why I went with that.
Yeah,
that safe.
the safe
I
makes a
upgraded
ton
the
of
safe
sense in my
to get that. And I still think even with it protecting. With the heat, I bet you they still would get. I'd have bigger concerns if my fucking house is on.
Yeah, if your house is on fire, you're not really worrying about your cards. But if you have insurance, that might not be something that you have to really worry about.
Yeah. But like Larry said, I do highly suggest every couple year or whatever, take pictures of your collection because that does help out a lot. Yeah. So is that about it for insurance stuff? Did you have anything else on that list?
Yeah, I think I would just go and check out, see what you can kind of get for it, see if the biggest thing is, like, for me, is just sitting down. I should probably figure out what my collection is worth.
Right. It takes a long time. I'll tell you. I know
what my tradables are worth, and they're like on their own. They're cards I want to get rid of, and they're worth $2,000.
Nice.
Like, and I have cards that I'm not trading that I could trade, and that's going to be more. Like,
I think
there's going to be a lot more.
My number ended at 20. With the cards that are over $5.
Okay.
My $5 and over cards is about 20,000, I think, right now. And that nearly doubled from when I counted 2 years ago. So not only with the prices going, and that isn't counting specs. Like, the specs are completely different. Like that, yeah. I don't even know what that is. There's thousands and thousands of cards that some of them I'm waiting on jumping, and
like the question in my mind is, when is the good time to get insurance? And
right.
As long as you're taking these other precautions, for me, that's something that I have to figure out. But if I sat down and got it, I was over 20,000.
Would you think about getting a safe, or would you think about doing insurance?
My problem with a safe would be that it'd always be open. Well, so it'd be like not really working half the time.
That's what my old safe did. I didn't, because I was like, I have to keep getting the key. But now that I got the combo, the digital one, it's so much easier. I lock it as soon as I'm done with it. Yeah, it takes me just as long to open, 3 seconds to open it.
How much did your safe cost?
I got that one at Menards for...
Save big money at Menards.
Exactly, $300. $300 bucks.
Bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
And it, like I said, it's fire resistant up to like 6 hours for 1,100. I don't know. I don't know exactly.
And that sucker's like 3 feet, 3.5 feet tall.
Yeah,
and it holds a ton of cards. I might consider that.
And I really like that I got that one. The other one I had,
because in my mind, like, okay, let's say with my numbers, 30,000, it costs $200. That pays the safe essentially pays for itself
for
if it's
3
protection
years.
against theft, moisture resistant, and
fire.
If that actually protects up to it, it pays itself off in a year and a half essentially, right, versus insurance. Now the part where you got to worry about is going to an LGS or a tournament, getting your card stolen there,
and that's honestly why you only bring that deck.
What you need, concentrate on that part.
When I go play cards at your house or go play at somebody's house, I do bring all my commander decks, but they're all, and I just took apart a bunch of them. There's 60-70% proxies in there,
And also we're friends, so I think that's okay.
Well, yeah,
you're not going to get stolen at my house. But
the reason why we talked about the proxies in the first place
stolen
is because
from your car,
right? I used to have to go into work, and I'd be at work and leave my bag in the car, or go work out or do something like that, and I'd be so freaking nervous that it's there's tens of thousands of dollars sitting in there.
And just to give some people an idea of how shitty it is to get something stolen, I had my car broken into twice, and I had a workout bag at our climbing gym get stolen. Each one of those cost me at least $500 just to like change keys on the house, get my ID back, get a new car, like key for my car. It's just a ton of shit. Get a new phone. Like, it sucks just on that little bit.
Yeah, I remember when that all happened.
Yeah, and it really sucks. And so something that I think you should really take consideration if you have a fairly large collection.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, just kind of weigh some things out. Like I said, we've gone over this a bunch of times. Honestly, the thing that has saved everything for us is, for me,
the proxies.
Proxies, I love it. I love it so much. Everything about it, like, it's not only keeping my cards safe, it's changed the way I collect cards, and that increased my collection. I love doing the designs of them. I almost like them how they look with the full art. Hence why I like the box toppers so damn much, and what our next freaking segment is. But I almost like them better than what the original looks like. How I design the cards and how we play with those, and it's just everything about it is awesome.
About it.
It's just you gotta
sorry.
So
no limit.
All right, nice. I get what you did there. All right, so let's move into our Smith specs of the week. We kind of did a joint list on this one. We went back and forth.
We went together.
Yeah,
well, we had some debate on this, and like, what do we want? What do we want to put out there? So I think flat out, we're going to talk about the box toppers. They are really awesome.
Yeah,
they are straight up.
What I just said.
Sweet. They're jacked.
Love how they're full art and foil. They are freaking awesome, and they're cards that you use. You know, I mean, for the most part, Commander uses them. Mm-hmm. There's a few cards that we won't use.
They're definitely cool. Modern and Legacy staples in there as well, but they are gorgeous.
Yeah, they are pretty amazing.
In my opinion, they are probably out of the most recent promos. Like, I'd put them maybe number 2, 1A next to Inventions, the Masterpiece Inventions. Maybe the Masterpiece Planeswalkers, like right there.
That's yeah. I think these are right. The full art part just gets me. You know.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. But like in my mind, the Inventions are gorgeously done. Just the borders kind of fuck with it. I would totally agree with that. But like the Invocations, we were looking at the two that had similar. So Maelstrom Pulse and Lord of Extinction. Those have actually dropped since the Ultimate Master box toppers have been announced. People are like, I don't want these fucking Invocations.
They want
I
the
want
full
the
art.
box topper.
Right. And since you're speaking of Maelstrom Pulse, that's one of the cards that we're saying
bing,
on the
bing,
list.
what a transition.
Yeah. So Maelstrom Pulse is sitting right now at $38. That's pretty much what we kind of figured the price is right now for the Invocations, which are really ugly compared to these.
And so you know it's going to be worth more than the Invocation.
Hard part with all this is we don't know where this is going. You know, whereas we could take the others, you know, when you take Snapcaster Mage as a non-foil, you can kind of figure, all right, this is the price, how we broke it down.
It's probably going to sit around $80, $90,
right.
Like as full recovery. 90 might be too much, but 70, 80. We did it last week.
Right.
Listen to that.
Listen to last week's episode. But these are like, we can tell you bottoms. Like, it's going to get over this price, but
it's not going to go down from now.
Right.
Like, it's going to be pretty rare. It's when you compare it to other things that have already been out and they're better or affecting it, that shows you the importance of the box topper essentially.
And so I guess should we just kind of rattle off these of where we think they are, where they're at now? And
I think we do one and then we go through it and then go to the next one.
Okay. So we got Maelstrom Pulse on there. We already talked about that.
Sitting at about $38 right now, and that's what the Invocation is. This has been printed a couple times in master sets. It has a couple of foils. It was in the Invocation, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. And this is it's going to be the most desired copy that is played.
And it's freaking awesome in Commander. I'm surprised. This could be on our...
It could have been in our top 20.
It could have, because it's not used in a lot of decks. So, and I think it should be. We've mentioned that before. Wipes out tokens or whatever else you want to wipe out. Or
stuff that is very commonly played, like Soul Ring and Lightning Greaves. But it's, it just is surprising. I can see this... Can I see this doubling? Also depends on the rarity of what's going on. It's hard for me to believe that it's going to get up to 70, but I can easily see this going from 38 up to 50. For sure. Yeah. Easily. Yeah. And one thing that I guess I should probably bring up, like, nobody is trading these things. Yeah. I haven't seen any box toppers out there on like Deck Box or anything. Well, even the inventory on TCG is pretty damn low. Super limited. Yeah, some of them are sold out. Like Cavern Souls on Card Kingdom was. Like, there's just not a lot out there. So either people are holding on to it or there just isn't a lot. And if they don't make another printing of this, these cards could go crazy. Yeah. So that's why we're kind of focusing on cards like this. So the next on the list, we'll work our way from the bottom to the top, you think? Sure. Since we did it. So Gaddock Teeg is currently sitting at $56. The foils from Lorwyn were at 70 before. Actually, they are at 70, I think, still. Whatever. Their peak at best, they're at 58. but I don't think the foils from Lorwyn were affected at all.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they weren't affected at all.
You can see on some of them where like box topper announcement, some of them kind of crawl down on Goldfish, but here it just steady.
So you're looking at least, and I know Lorwyn's an older set, and whatever.
They have a Judge promo that was like 65, 66-ish, and I would say this is more desirable than that as well.
So you're looking at least a $20 increase. I would think over 70 for sure, if not more, because of this being full art.
And again, it's a legend, and so that has more commander appeal. It's a super good hate card.
Yeah. Well, why don't we just jump with that one then? Why don't you go up to this one because it's another.
Yeah. Sigarda.
Yeah.
Sigarda, host of Herons. This is another one that we kind of noticed. It's sitting at $50. That's cheaper than what the original foil is sitting at right now.
So,
this is going to, in my opinion, it's going to be worth more than the original foil or any foil printing of it.
And that's the thing is, this is our opinion, but I think that's the hard part. Is
we're really smart people.
Yeah.
So you
take
should
our opinions.
No, it's really hard to tell. And it is our opinion, but like these are the ones that felt like the most sure that weren't $100, $200.
Right. Yeah, we weren't picking out and those are tough because the thing is, you take, for example, Snapcaster Mage, it's over $200 right now. There is no other foil printing of that where it ever reached $200. So it's like, I don't know where the top is on this. Is this the top?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's going to get higher than that, but that's just kind of... These were the ones that we could go, all right, there was a foil printing here, and it was at this price, and this is about X dollars cheaper. So that's kind of why we picked these out. Because another one is, was it Mikaeus?
Mikaeus the Unhallowed.
Currently at 55. And
when we were actually doing it like midweek, I saw it at like 42.
Yeah,
and it's already going up like $10, $15. And I was like, it's not as good. And then we started looking at the foil, which was worth more than what
it's $80
right now.
So the foils have been up to $80. So this can easily
get up to $80.
And it's full art, so I'm guessing over $80. I'm thinking 80 is your bottom,
and so you start going like, is the top where the top of the original foil is going to be, or is it more? Because this is highly desirable in my opinion. Like it's again gorgeous.
Yeah.
So and it is a legend. And it's crazy combo-rific. So
crazy. I like it. Crazy combo-rific. And then our last two we round off are both one of the lands, each of them a land. Why don't you do the first one, Larry?
Raging Ravine. That's the red-green man land. And this card is sitting at
46 right now.
Yeah, 46, and its foil was over 70 if I remember right.
Yep.
Its original one. That's taken a little bit of a dip, but it's not as popular in Modern right now. Manlands are pretty dang good in Commander, and so it's something that I can see recovering pretty well.
Yeah, and then the last one is Creeping Tar Pit. This one isn't as big of a difference with
the black-blue one.
Yeah, it's a black-blue one. The current World Wake foils are at price, so they're at $50 right now.
So they're even with the box topper.
So it's only going to go higher than and that's where I think the other one, the Raging Ravine, is a better buy and actually cheaper than Creeping Tar Pit because the ceiling on that, I think the bottom is at least $30 more or $25 more. So those would be the ones I would probably go for the Raging Ravine, but Creeping Tar Pit is pretty sweet because you get that unblockableness to it too.
Yeah.
And again, full art. Everything full art and foil is freaking awesome. So
and again, I would put this better than Invocations by far. The Amonkhet masterpieces. So it's like I'm happy with my Stirring Wildwood that I opened up.
You weren't at the time.
Yeah. I wasn't at the time, but like I look at it, it sucks that it came in a super expensive thing, but getting it, I was like, it's a gorgeous card.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, well, that should do it for this week's episode. We are pushing at our normal, longer episode, which is good.
We're back to normal, where it's a little bit longer than 2 car rides.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, where can people find us, Larry?
You can Twitter us, you can email us, and you can YouTube us.
I like it. I like how you just shorten that shit down.
Yeah.
Shorten that shit. Nice.
Like Turtle heading?
Butt clencher?
Butt clencher, damn it.
Turtle heading? You did like open and then I did the close.
Back shadow.
Back shadow. That's my favorite. That is my favorite quote of everything. Back shadowing. All right. So, yeah, you guys can check us next week. We will probably have some spoilers coming next week because they've already started, but we're going to kind of wait until next week to get hopefully a couple more, maybe?
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah.
We'll
There's some cool art out there, but go check it out if you want. Yeah. But you can wait until next week.
Yeah, don't go check it out. Just wait until we talk about it.
Yeah.
And like I said, we'll probably link the battle boxes again on this podcast. So as you're listening to this, if you want to see how bad the shot was and how Lowry sucks at gambling and making deals.
I'm pretty bad at that, yeah.
And there's a little bit of Street Fighter-ness to this episode, too. That was pretty sweet.
It was fun. It was a really fun watch, in my opinion.
So check that out. But yeah, you guys can check us next week and have a good day. I was thinking, I'm like, are they listening during the day or at night? So it's like, I don't know.
Listen to the time period that you are listening to. Have a good time period.
All right.
We'll see you guys
period. Next week.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye. That's my line. Bye.
See ya. See ya.
You're off. What are you doing?
See ya.
Let's go play Magic.